Welcome back to Wonder Dream Podcast. This is episode 6. The last one wasn't episode 6. I thought it was episode 6, but I got muddled up. This is episode 6. The last one was episode 5. I was in the last one. I went through my own paranormal experiences and a couple of other things. I hope you did enjoy it. I did go for quite a lot. And like I said, I did go for quite a lot. I did blabber on because I had so much to say about it. So, I hope you enjoyed that and took on board the fact don't use a Ouija board. That's the message I try getting across in that podcast. I did say that this podcast was going to be about aliens and that, and a few like weird stuff that I've seen and come across and just don't understand what they were. I mean, everyone's probably got their own like personal experiences on it, like if they've seen like UFOs or if they've just seen some like weird shit. So I'll quickly jump in. Basically, the first time, obviously I'm a bit optimistic about it. I don't know if it's real or if it's not, if they've got like aliens locked away in Area 51 and the government are hiding it, or they've got all that technology somewhere the government hidden away, and that's why technology's been coming to us so quick and it's been advancing so quick, because they've been taking this technology off aliens, or these UFO, these things that have been seen in the sky could actually be UFOs, and the government are just like covering it up, and the UFOs that crash or somewhere, and then they take the aliens and they torture them or something. We don't know 100% what's real and what's not real. We're just going off like reports, and obviously when something big happens, the government cover it up. Like say there was the Roswell incident, that was covered up pretty fast. I personally think that was actually real. And obviously the government, they covered it up like, oh no, it was just one of our test flights that crashed. This, when you look at reports and like footage and all that of what actually happened in the Roswell incident, for a fact that wasn't something to do with a crash site gone wrong on there and like a test. You knew instantly that was something that wasn't from this planet. But obviously I don't know why the government are like hiding it, because there's a lot of people out there like myself that are optimistic, and I know that there is something else that's out there. So I don't know why the government just want to keep it from the public, and when something happens like that they cover it up. It's like, well, what's the point in this? I think the reason why the government do it though is because they think if they release all this stuff to the public that there'll be a massive like an uproar and everyone will be like, oh. But on the other hand, they're doing it for like security reasons, to like, I don't know, they're like doing it to like kind of like protect us from whatever this stuff is. But at the end of the day, we don't know what's happening. Obviously it's all the people, but like I said, there was some people that used to work at like Area 51 and for the government, and they've actually come out in interviews and said, yeah, we have like alien technology hidden away in so base, and then they've got these hidden bases apparently that nobody knows about, all of the people within the government and other people that working on them certain projects, which people were coming out with saying, we were testing all this like technology that we'd found from like UFO crash sites, and they were just testing it, and they're saying they were testing it on animals. They were trying to like make human hybrids, like they were trying to like make hybrids like half alien half human, and then they were testing it on like rats and bats and all this, and they were like trying to like make like a hybrid of all this stuff. And they said they were testing all this stuff quite a lot on like rats and rabbits and all this. There's a couple of documentaries out there if you just like look them up and whatnot. There's quite a lot of like interesting stuff, and I mean I've read some of these documentaries and they are actually quite interesting. They go into quite a lot of detail, and all you're thinking, in one sense you're thinking, is this real, or are they just doing this as a publicity stunt? Some people do it as a publicity stunt. Obviously there's videos out there that people like fake, like, oh look, there's an alien in the woods. Oh, there's like, there was one video which I watched, I think everybody's seen it, the one with the alien that pops up at the window and then pops, that's definitely fake. You could tell that's fake, because I remember, I think it was Fake or Fact, a fiction, I can't remember what the show was called, where they found all these videos of like aliens and all this other stuff, and they went out there and tried it themselves to see if it was real or if it was fake, and that was one of them with the alien popping up. And the way that they reenacted it was exactly the same, so you knew instantly that was fake. And there was a couple of other things which they did and all, which people didn't understand, like this figure flying across the sky. They tried it out and it wasn't 100% accurate. It was it was a little bit, but it wasn't 100% accuracy because of the way that it was like moving in the sky and the way that it was like transitioning. So they said themselves that, I think it was called Fact or Fake, Fake or Fact or whatever, I can't remember what the show was called, but I've seen pretty much all the episodes, and they said themselves that could have been real, because obviously they said they've tested out different things, you know, they tried a hot air balloon with it, they tried actually like recreating the shape of what this thing looked like, and they said themselves that the way it moves, that potentially could have been something that wasn't human. So there was that. And there's another couple of stuff, you know. Obviously, you just look it all up, and, you know, like I said, I've watched all these documentaries and all this. It is like an interesting subject, you know. Everyone's like optimistic about like, oh, is it real? Is it fake? At the end of the day, there's obviously something else out there. It's just, and then I know like a lot of like UFO. There's all these like UFO communities and all this that are like, you know, why haven't they made like first contact? They probably have made first contact, but the government have just, you know, they've hidden it away and they've covered it up. And like stopped this first contact, you know. I mean, just go back to the Egyptian times. Look at the pyramids, how they were built, and, you know, all the mythology around all that time, you know, the Egyptian times and all that. People are saying that aliens built those pyramids as like a way of communication to their planets or elsewhere. They say they're like communication poles. Obviously, there is quite a lot of stuff if you read up on it that does actually back up this claim. And they were saying that around about the Egyptian times, there were aliens that actually did come to this planet, and, you know, they gave us all this technology to, you know, build these pyramids and all this other stuff. There is quite a lot of evidence. If you look it up, it is an interesting subject actually about the pyramids, and, you know, saying that it's like UFO mythology and all this other stuff. It is an interesting subject. I did watch there was like a massive documentary on it, which was like, I think it was on the Discovery Channel, which I watched it on. It might have been the Geographic Channel. It were one of the two. There was like a series on that I watched, and there was also a documentary on the pyramids. There's also UFO mysteries and alien mysteries, which are quite interesting because that goes through quite a lot of different stuff. Saying the people are even saying that Stonehenge was potentially like a UFO, an alien site, which was obviously, like they said, like was another like a communication pole which they used to communicate with us. And they're saying that apparently there was like an underground base under Stonehenge. There's just a lot of stuff. If you read it up, it's like you know, you don't know what's real and what's not, because obviously you're just reading off reports, you know. But with picture evidence, you know, back then, if you look at some of the picture evidence and the stuff which is corned on the walls, you know, in Egypt and all this, it is interesting, because it's like, well, some of it like proves that, you know, aliens were around back then, and, you know, what's happened to it all now? It's like, where's it all gone? You know, obviously it's the government covering it up. We all know this. I think everybody knows that, you know, it might not be Area 51. That might just be like a cover up for people, because I know people have tried like getting in there. And there was also another area base which apparently had like alien stuff in which you can actually get into. Now it is guarded quite well, but they don't use it anymore. That's in America as well somewhere. I can't remember what the base were called. But apparently that's gone. And there was also one on the mountains somewhere. There was a documentary I watched. It was really interesting. It was on the mountains, and apparently there was like a secret base. It was like you couldn't see it or anything because it was under the snowy mountain, under the mountains, and there was like this hatch, this like little latch which was covered up, which you couldn't see. There was this latch which you opened up. It's like a little like grate thing that you lifted up, and that got you down into the base. You know, it was secretly hidden. You couldn't find it, like. But I remember a documentary that apparently they don't use that base anymore, because there was a documentary which showed, you know, this thing, but it's guarded quite well. Apparently there's like people guarding that hatch. You know, there's people like in cars like watching. So you know that something dodgy is going on down there, and that, you know, there's something which they're trying to cover up, because if they've got that many people watching it and all this, and, you know, they're secretly guarding it, you know, without people noticing that you're guarding it, then you know that something's going down. Like I said, they're obviously testing all this alien technology which has crashed to the planet, or, you know, aliens, like I said, could have come to try and make contact, and the government have gone in and sweeped it, and they've basically just like they've taken out the aliens, you know, then they've stolen that technology, and then they're using that for like different stuff. Like I said, with our technology, you go back about 20-30 years ago, look at technology, what it was back then, and then look at technology now. Just look at how fast it's progressed. I mean, you know, we've got all these scientists' brains and all that can come up with all this, like, but with how fast it's progressing, you're thinking, well, how are they coming up with this so quick? it does make you wonder, like, you know, they probably have time travel fucking stashed away somewhere. They've probably already hacked that, and, you know, they're just keeping it away. They've got, like, you know, like this portal. Apparently there was a documentary which I read which had all this like portal stuff, like they could like open wormholes or something, and go. There's some really mad stuff. If you like read up into it, if you're interested in that stuff, like read up into it. I'll put some links in the description to this podcast if you want to like look it up more. There is quite a lot of interesting stuff which I've read up in it. It does make me wonder, and it probably does like make a lot of other people wonder, like, hey, up a minute, this is so. Like I said, if you go in the description of the video, I'll post quite a lot of links. I'll also put some in the comment section for some links and that which you can go and read, and there's a couple of videos which I'll put in the comment box and all, which you can look up and read, because they really are interesting. I mean, I'm not as sort as like a UFO maniac like a lot of these communities that set up are. It's just like an interesting subject, because it's like, you know, if it's all real, I'm like, well, why hide it away from the public? It does make you wonder, like, it's real, it's true, and obviously you could tell with some of these interviews that, you know, you can see in their eyes, like, yeah, they're worried about like slipping up in these interviews. But like I said, yeah, I'm going to post all those links if you want to read more into it. I'll post up the interesting stuff which I've just gone on about, you know, the mountain with the hatch, as well as the UFO. Apparently there's aliens in pods and all this, and there was actually some pictures taken. I'll try and find them, but they were taken down. Like, yeah, it's an interesting subject, you know. I've always been fascinated in, you know, like aliens, and I always have. It's like a really interesting subject to me. It's like, you know, is it real? Is it not real? There's people out there like, oh, it's fake. Oh, it's off. There's something to it. Like I said, with all these bases that they have in secret, and, you know, all these other things that they have, it does make you wonder. And then, you know, when people try to come out and talk about their experiences working there, and then, you know, they don't get killed, they just vanish, they just disappear, and they're never seen again. So it does make you wonder. You know, they obviously do that to, you know, keep that secret at bay, which, you know, you can understand at the end of the day, you know, because, you know, they want to keep that a secret. You know, if it's like really, you know, technology that, you know, it's security at the end of the day, isn't it? You know, if you're working for that person, you know, you can't leak. It's the same with like a music industry or something else like that. You can't leak stuff, you know, it's illegal. That's what their job was. So like, say, you know, when they're coming out with these interviews saying about all this stuff, you know, all these test subjects, this is going on, you know, we're still like alien when they're coming out, it's understandable, which, you know, I fully understand, and everyone else fully understands, but I just don't understand why they're doing that. Because at the end of the day, like I say, one day it's gonna come out. It could happen tomorrow, it could happen in 50 years, 100 years. One day it will all come out. It's just, I think they're just buying the time to wait until, you know, the right time it is for them to come out and say, yeah, aliens are real, here's all the backup and all the proof and everything that we've got from, you know, the UFO crash sites and UFOs appearing in the sky and all these other things. But like I said, you know, people have said, oh, I've been this is another interesting fact. You know, I will go into my own personal experiences once I've like babbled on about this next bit. Alien abductions. A lot of people just do it for publicity stunts, like, oh, I've been abducted by an alien, this happened, they probed me. But they go into but some of them, I genuinely feel it did happen, because they go into proper graphic. I mean, I do have a graphic mind, and I do come out with some graphic stuff, but the stuff that these were coming out in these interviews was really graphic. It's like, not even I'd come up with this, it was really graphic. Like, you know, they were able to like say, you know, communications and all this and everything that was said, and it was like, oh, this happened, this is what you know, the inside of the UFO looked like. You know, everyone has their own creative mind, but stuff they were coming out with, it was really graphic. Like, you know, what the aliens looked like, this is what happened. I went to this other faraway planet. They ended up like using me for like test subjects, and then, you know, this alien that I slept with, and then, you know, I have kids with this like alien being. And there was pictures online. There was this dude which apparently kept getting abducted, and he has like 5 or 6 kids with this like female alien or something. And there were one time where it was able to. I will link it. It was a documentary. It's actually on Netflix, I think. If I can find the name of it, I will put it in the comment section. What was it called? They kept calling him a name, and they kept phoning him, and apparently it was his daughter, this like alien daughter, which was like talking to him, and she was using these names, and there was this other alien saying, oh, I can't talk for long, you know, communication, you know, I don't want them to find out this is happening, and this and that. it was really interesting. I was thinking, oh, and then there was also a picture which was put up online. It was doing this like panel interview talking about, you know, his experiences, and there was something else, and there was a picture taken of this girl with blonde hair with like a really weird, like, she looked human, but she had this like weird like alien face with like big eyes. Now, that was definitely not, I can tell you that now, I'm good at photoshopping, and that was not photoshopped. That was interesting. Then after reading up on the article about it, and then, you know, when these things happen, I like to like read more into them to see if they actually are real or not, and see, you know, what evidence there is to actually back this up. And there was quite a lot of evidence, and I mean there was a lot of evidence to back this up. I was thinking there's no way this can be fake with all this evidence which was backed up. I think it was faked. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember now, but it was a couple of years ago I watched this documentary, and I read into it. Star Summit, they called him. Was it Star? It was called Star Summit. These aliens like named him Star Summit. I can't remember from the top of my head because it's been a while. I can't remember what. You might know what I'm talking about. This this alien child, and that you might actually understand what I'm saying and what I'm talking about here. But I can't remember. I can't remember at the top of my head what I'm actually banging on about. I know what it is. It's just saying like the top of my head. And obviously over alien abduction, which I've looked into, there was one. Was an interview. It was a woman. Apparently she carried like quite a few like alien babies. She was abducted and she was took off, and apparently she had a couple of alien babies which they didn't allow her to take back. They basically took the children off her and then basically just fucked her off and chucked her back onto Earth. That was an interesting read. With what she was going into, I think there was. I don't think there was an interview on that. I think it was an article. Some blonde-haired chick that was banging on about, they were using her for like testing subjects and all that. Like I said, it's really an interesting subject. It's like, I do read into it. I haven't read into it quite a lot now, but, back when I was younger and all this, I was really, really, interested in, that side of things. Like, it was like a weird hobby to me. It was, it was just interesting to know, is this real? I'm not going to lie, I've actually tried to see and go out there to like all these places and actually see if I can actually catch anything. There was a couple of times where, like I said, I will go into it after I've babbled on about all this. I will go into like some really creepy stuff which I have seen. I've actually gone out there at dark, like just pitch black, into like, there's a couple of places back home, at my mum's, which they're really, really creepy if you go there at night. And I've actually tried to see if I can actually like catch anything, to see if that, basically I look up like UFO hotspots where like UFOs have been sighted, and I actually go there and see if like I can actually pick any. I did it when I was younger. I was a bit stupid when I was younger. I don't know why I did it. I just wanted to actually see if I could actually physically catch anything. I will go on about that. There was something really interesting which I will go into once I've said that. But like I said, it was an interesting subject to me, and I was just like, it's just like, if it's all real and all that, it's like, why cover it? It does blag my head a bit, when I did read in some articles and all that, like I said, it does blag your head a bit, like, why are they covering it up? Just come out with it, because, everyone knows that there's something else out there. We're not in the Matrix. We're not hooked up onto a bloody machine like the Matrix, and this is just like a fake reality and we're in a coma or something. We know for a fact that's not the truth. We know something's out there, so I just don't understand why they're covering it up. If I was in that position, you would obviously, you'd do it for security reasons, obviously, because if it all leaks or whatnot, then you're in trouble. Which makes you wonder, they're doing some really graphic bad stuff, and it's making you think the reason they're not coming out with it, they're obviously, these UFOs are crashing, the aliens are obviously injured, and then they're just swooping in before anyone can capture this stuff. And then they're taking off the bodies, and then they're ripping these aliens apart. They're doing something graphic and dodgy. This is why they're covering it up. I mean, like I said, I've read a lot of different like articles which goes into it, like, they're doing it for that. They're doing it to subject, they're taking the technology, they're ripping up the UFOs, and they're taking that technology and anything that's inside of it, they're ripping it up and using it for our own gain. Which, if that's the case, then that's just wrong. That's just inhuman. If you're doing that, you're doing it just to, obviously these aliens are trying to make contact, And then you've got these that are working for the government. If it's obviously we don't know if it's true, that are then taking this technology. They're not even asking for the. Well, they could be. You know, the aliens could be making contact and say, "Here's some technology," and then we do test subjects on your humans. You can do test subjects on us. It could be that, or it could be for the fact, like I said, these UFOs and whatnot are crashing. The aliens are really badly injured, and then you know the government and well, it's not the government. The officers. I don't know what they call them, we don't know. Are swooping in, you know, the army and all that. They're swooping in, they're taking it, and then they're just like opening and ripping up and basically torturing these other fucking creatures or whatever they are. We don't know. It could be that. It could just be that, you know, they have a mutual friendship with these, you know, other aliens or whatnot that are out there, and they're just, you know, they're sharing technology and whatnot. That's why technology's advanced. We don't know. Like I said, you know, it's all so and so. You don't know what's real and what's not, what's reality, what's fake, what's like I said, you know, it could be true. It might actually be the Matrix, you know. It's more than 95% chance it isn't. You know, you're hooked up onto some machine like the Matrix, and then, you know, when you die you actually wake up in the real world, and this is just like a test of, you know, how you'd cope in the real world. We don't know what's real until you actually die. You know, you kick the bucket. You don't know until, you know, we die, and then, you know, you don't know what's real and what's not until you know you actually do die, and then you'll find out. But like I said, I have blabbered on about that. You know, it's just like, because, you know, it is like an interesting subject. Like I said, there's just so much stuff into it that I've read up. It's just so interesting. Right, I'll go into my own personal experiences now of like some really like creepy stuff that I have seen on. Like, yeah, I'll go into it. I wish I had evidence to back this up, but I did take pictures and try, but the camera got corrupted. Literally, as soon as like I took the pictures and like the video of this stuff, it was gone off the camera. It's like, I don't know what happened. And there was also this other thing which this creeps me out to this day still, which I'll go on about that as well. So basically, the first thing which I did encounter, which I thought was actually a UFO. I was walking in the woods. I was filming this like short film or something in the woods by myself. I was just capturing some like backup shots, some like extra footage. I think it was about 1:30 in the morning. I was just walking through the woods on my own. I know this sounds so bad. It's like I want to get murdered. Yeah, I was just doing it for like backup shots. And I was just strolling through the woods, and I saw this really bright green and red light in the distance. I was in the woods at the other end, and I saw this like really bright green and red lights, and then it was like flickering. So I thought, right, I'm going to check this out. So I started walking towards whatever this light was that was flashing, and then I start seeing this like weird shape that was on the ground. I don't know how to explain it. It was like how can I explain it? It wasn't a circle. It was like a circle, triangular kind of like object, which was like hovering off the ground, and then there was these like bright lights. So I was thinking to myself, so I got my camera out, because I would have my camera on me, obviously, because I was taking like shots, backup shots for that short film. So I took my camera out, and I like tried getting footage, and I tried like secretly like trying to like take pictures of it and like some like film footage, which I did. And then I had this footage on my camera, and I thought, I've got this fucking footage. I was like, this best be on the. So I just literally I ran, and I just ran it. Must have been a good 10 minutes that I was running for to get out of those woods. I just absolutely ran the hell out of those woods, and then I got out of the woods. I just kept running until I got to like the end of the street, the streets at the bottom, and I just kept running, and then I just kept like running, and then I got into the town bit, and it was about 2:00 in the morning. Luckily there was a couple of people around, so I was like, right, I'm safe now. I was like, I'm safe. So I get out my camera out. So I already had the camera out on me, so I had the camera out, and I look at the footage to see, right, what did it actually capture? The camera was fucked. It wasn't working. I couldn't turn the camera on. I was like, why's my camera not turning on? The camera had literally, I thought, right, it might have been the battery might have died. So I was like, right, that's fair. So I got back to my mum's. Well, not my mum's. I was living on my own then, so I got back to mine. I put the camera on charge, thinking, the battery might have died. So I put the camera on charge, and then it wasn't charging up. I left it for a couple of hours and I was like, right, the camera's still not turning on. So I thought, right, the battery might be dodgy. So I switched the batteries round. Nope. No luck. I was like, right, this is really, really weird. I'm like, why's the camera not turning on? Then I take the SD card, which was in the camera, out of the camera. I put it into my laptop to check the footage. There was nothing on the SD card. It was like it was wiped. I was like, how is this possible? I was like, literally, the camera was dead, so I couldn't view anything. And then when I actually went onto the SD card, it was corrupted. So it was like I couldn't view anything which was on the SD card. It was corrupted in it. And then when I tried like getting into the SD card because it was corrupted to see what was on the SD card, there was no files whatsoever on it. I was like, how was this possible? I was like, I literally did take photos and I literally got a couple of video things because I was like hiding it, like, you know, like creeping, like, well, what is this? Because, yeah, it vanished. I was like, the camera was fucked. I could never use the camera again. I had to throw that away because the camera was dead. Literally, I couldn't use it. And like I said, the SD was corrupted. And then when I tried to get into it to try and save the files, if there was anything still left on it, yeah, there was no files on the SD card. That was interesting. I was like, I've never actually told this story before. If people want to interview me about my paranormal experiences, like my last podcast, go ahead. I'll happily do an interview about that. But about this, no, it'd be definitely no. If like, because you know, I've already had like someone contact me about the last podcast that wants to do an interview with me about my personal experiences and, you know, about the whole thing that I said about the church and, you know, me, you know, using the Ouija board and feeling like, you know, like I had an evil entity attached to me. Someone's already contacted me about that, saying they wanted to do like an interview in June about it. I said I'll get back to them. I don't know if I want to talk about it, because like I said, I did want to get it out there and just like, you know, because I thought it was like an interesting subject, because people are like interested in stuff about that, and it was like a subject which I don't personally want to talk about because of the experiences that I had with it. You know, I prefer not to talk about. I was just doing it as an awareness thing because I had a couple of people, you know, like I said on the forum, that, you know, they said, oh, they've had these paranormal experiences. I'm like, well, yeah, I'll tell you about mine, but that podcast is over and done with. That I'm never talking about again. So, you know, if people bring that up, I might do the interview, I might not. It just all depends on, you know, because obviously it's a touchy subject, you know, with what happened and how ill I was. It's a touch. To be fair, my mum doesn't really know most of it. What happened after that, I don't think I did tell her. Like I said, it's a touchy subject. I had to go to church, and I don't really particularly want to go there. You know, most people, like I said, most people that are telling the truth, like I said, they don't really want to talk about it, which, like I said, I don't particularly want to go down that route of talking about it again, because of, you know, how much of a touchy subject it was. And, you know, like I said, I didn't feel like myself. I felt, you know, I was having blackouts. I particularly don't want to. I mean, I could, but I particularly don't want to, because then, you know, then that's putting a name out there for yourself, you know, because if that interview gets shown around everywhere, you know, it's putting yourself out there saying, oh, this has happened. And then I've seen the negativity that goes on, like, oh, they're faking it, oh, it's just a made up story, like a publicity stunt. For me personally, trust me, it's not a publicity stunt. All that stuff that happened in my grandma's house with the ghost and that was all true. The stuff which is in our old house, it's all true. Like I said, my mum documented it all and took it to the church. The stuff that happened to me, that was also documented. So, like I said, that stuff isn't fake. That's why I don't want to talk about it. Well, the stuff about my grandma's and, you know, that I'll gladly talk about, but my own personal experience, which happened after using that, you know, Ouija board, I don't particularly want to, like, you know, talk. I mean, I did talk a lot about it in the podcast. I just wanted to, you know, it did happen a long time. It happened. It did happen 7 years ago. But, you know, I don't particularly want to go down. Right, let's jump back onto the alien stuff. I've just like, this is going to be a long podcast. This could be like a good hour or so podcast, this one, because, you know, I'm trying to like link different stuff into it. Right, what was I I was talking about the alien experience. Yeah, like I said, if, you know, anyone comes, you know, like they did do with my last podcast, and I get messages about interviews, I'm not doing it. Not on this. Like I said, with the paranormal stuff, I will do about, the stuff that happened in my grandma's house. And, I might talk a bit about the Ouija board stuff and, what happened, but I'm not going to go into full details because, like I said, it's a touchy subject to me. And, I try and trying to forget about. Obviously, you can't forget about stuff like that happens. It does mentally mess you up. Like I said, like I did say in the podcast, stuff like that stays with you forever. So you just got to get on with it. But yeah, about that, yeah. Oh yes, I was going to mention. There was another thing which I did. It was up. If you've ever been to Haslingden, the UFO that they put up there, the UFO that they have at the top of Haslingden. I was walking up there one time to do some photography pictures. It was about winter time. I think it was like November, December time. It was about 10:30 in the evening. I'd gone up there to take some photography pictures and that for uni work. This was about 2 years ago. I was going up there to take some photography pictures for uni. And yet again, I saw some lights in the distance. Do you know what right? Some of you probably don't even know what I'm on about, right? When you go up there, you've got the UFO, which is a statue thing which I have there. And if you just keep walking to the back, there's a little woods area bit at the back. Like where there's trees and all that you can go in. There's like this little wooded off area at the back. This is where I was seeing these lights from. It was like these lights were going round in a circle. So there was like flickering and going round in a circle. And then I started walking towards it, and then I saw some like craft or something. It just literally just shot up into the air. It just shot up, just poof. Literally just shot up into the air. As soon as I started walking towards it, it just shot up into the air, just woof, right up into the air, faster than the speed of light. It was like a blink second like that. I squinted and then it was gone. I just saw it just go woof, just shot up into the sky. But like I said, this stuff might not even real. It might actually just be like, these crafts might actually just be, crafts which, the craft in Area 51, like new, like, piloted, like freaking like ships. We're not on sea. There might be like different like aircrafts that that they're building for the army. It could just be that, and they're just testing them. But why the hell would they just test them in the middle of the nowhere, on the top of a hill in the middle of nowhere? Why would they just test a craft there? Yeah, it's a bit odd. Some places which people have seen, and they've seen stuff in like lights in the sky, and why would they just randomly just test them? Or is it just like the FBI, like the army, and the government just like pulling these publicity stunts to make you believe that it's real when it's not? Like I said, there's different. You don't know what it is. I mean, we don't know the truth from we don't know the truth from the stuff that isn't real. You don't know the truth from the false stuff. We don't know actually what's real and what's not. Like I've said, could be reality, it could be fake, could be anything. But like I said, that's what I'm telling you about. The two of the experiences which I did experience for UFO. This podcast was about alien stuff, and me just saying stuff I read up on, stuff I've read, some interesting stuff which I said I'll put in the comment section, and I'll put some links into the video description as well, which you can click on if the stuff which I've spoke about. That documentary, that alien girl, the woman that said she carried alien babies, the mountain thing with the hatch in it, the old Area 50. It wasn't the Area 51 base, it was another base which some pictures were taken, but like I said, I don't know if those pictures are still online, because like I said, it was an article which was taken down like 5 to 10 minutes after it was posted. I'll link them into the description. I'll put them in the comment section because I probably won't be able to fit them all into the description. I don't want to spam the description with like a million links, so I will put it into the comment section, and then I'll just link it all in together and just put it all together as like a collage of links. If you're interested in the subjects and you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm getting a bit creeped out talking about this because it's getting dark outside. I've not got my light on in my room, so it's getting dark. I'm kind of like creeping myself out a bit. It's all good though. It's all good at the end of the day. I just wanted to get all this out there. With all the alien stuff. Like I said, if you want to talk about your stuff, if you've seen some like wacky stuff for UFOs and all, I'm interested in hearing what experiences you've had on, or even if you literally have like seen like alien creatures or somewhere in the woods, or you've seen, I'd be interested to to hear what you've seen, because everybody's seen something or nothing, something that's out of this world. Everybody's seen something, but it's just a matter of what it was. It could just be like I said, like it was in the woods the second time, where I just saw like these lights like in a circle and then a craft just shooting up into the air. Most people have said they've seen these like weird things in the sky. That's mainly the things which are reported, which are UFO sightings, like things in the sky that are like flying by. They're doing these like weird, and then you can actually see the craft and they're doing like these weird things, and they shoot off into the sky, or they like just shoot off elsewhere. That's what most of the sightings have been seen when it comes to UFO sightings. But I'm talking about actual alien sightings. Not many people have seen them. Obviously, we're in the UK. I'm in the UK, so it's mainly America all this stuff happens. I mean, you don't really see much in the UK with UFO activity and anything else like that. It's mainly America which gets all this stuff. I mean, America must be the hotspot for everything, because America's hotspotted for paranormal stuff. It's hotspot for UFOs. It's hotspot for alien sightings. It's like America's smack bang in the middle of everything. They like everything from paranormal stuff, ghosts, poltergeists, like the world's haunted buildings, like I said, UFO sightings. And it's like America's like, I feel sorry for people that live in America if they've actually experienced all this stuff, because they're like smack bang, if you live in America, you're like, it's like you smack bang in like the middle of everything. I feel so, I mean, I did want to like go to LA a couple of times or whatnot, but I'm a bit reluctant after all the stuff that happens in America. I mean, it doesn't happen everywhere. It's like certain places in America which has the hot spots for it. But like I said, there's certain I don't think LA weren't it. So it's like I said, America's like the hot spot for pretty much everything. But like I said, the UK doesn't really get much of that. From like UFO sightings and all that. We don't really get it much. You get it now and then, people come out saying, I've seen this craft and that. I don't think anything's happened in quite a while. I mean, the last thing I saw, like I said, was 2 years ago, which was that in the woods. And then before that was 4 years before that, which was 6 years ago, with the thing which I said. Like I said, I will link in a lot of the evidence. Not evidence, that's my stomach, if you did hear that, I'm a bit hungry. I'll link in the comments and the description links to the stuff which I was talking about if you want to read more into it, if you don't already know about the stuff which I was talking about. So I'll link it in the comments and I will link it into the description if you want to read more into it. Or if there was some stuff, you're a bit like, you can't find out yourself, just message me on YouTube or drop me a message and I'll try and find the links for you. If you want to know more into it, like I can like post you into like some like alien community forums and that, if you want to get more into the subject, if you are like interested into it, I can like signpost you to some really good like forums and alien communities which they post up regular stuff that's like happen, like pictures people have taken and videos and all. It's really wacky. I mean, I have looked at some of these like communities and forums before. Like I said, I'm not that interested in it now as what I was, but I do like look into it now and then just for like, if I'm like not doing anything, if I've got a bit of time free, I've not got anything else to watch, or if I'm not doing any uni work or I've not got anything else to do, then you're just like, oh right, yeah, I'm still like, I'll check in this forum or I'll check up this, community to see what's been posted onto it, which I do now and then. I don't do it as much. I don't think I've watched any alien documentaries for about a good year or so now, or looked into much about it now, because I've been getting on with uni work and I've been doing other stuff, making these short films, these scripts. It's an interest. When you're younger, you just when you're younger, you do look up stuff. You're just like, oh, is this real? Is that everyone does? It's part of learning on what that career progression or whatnot you want to go into. What you're interested in and what. Everyone has their own like interests and hobbies in what they do. I know people that go out there on a daily basis trying to catch like UFOs and try and get footage and try and like, I know some people that are putting like forums and they're so stupid. They go out there like all these UFO hotspots and they try and like get contact. They use like these devices, you know, like devices they use to like contact the other side, like ghosts and that. They got all these ghost shows like you know, Paranormal Lockdown and Ghost Adventures, all these like stuff. Well, they have stuff apparently tailored to like try and contact aliens. It's so stupid. I don't think it works, but yeah, there's quite a lot of these devices which you can buy, and I know I've read up on some of these forums. People actually go out there to try and get evidence of like pictures, and they try and contact the UFOs to see if they can get themselves abducted. It's so stupid. It's like, why? But then again, it's a hobby for them, innit? It's an interest. Everyone has their own hobbies and interests. They have their own wacky stuff that they, you know, they like to do. People like to go out to do that, you know. People have their own weird minds. They like to do whatever they do. But if they enjoy it, then, you know, fair play to them. You know, if they enjoy doing it and it's something, you know, they like doing, and they like doing like documentaries and they like documenting it, and, you know, they go for it, I say. You know, if you're interested in something, as long as it's not dodgy and it's not you know, it's not too stupid, then, you know, go for it. You know, if you're interested in it, then like if you're interested in going out there every day for trying to fucking contact UFOs, or, you know, going to like abandoned buildings and trying to contact the dead, go for it. Go for it. You know, no one's going to stop you if it's an interest and it's something which you can see yourself progression into, like, you know, like a web series, a documentary. You know, you feel like, you know, this is something, you know, you can do as like a career prospect, you know, something which you can carry on with, then, you know, jump into it, go for it. No one's going to stop you at the end of the day, are they? Unless you try and like breaking into your Area 51, then someone's going to try and stop you and you're probably going to get shot at. But if it's, you know, if it's something which is pretty easy, like, you know, if, you know, there's like quite a, like, you know, you're looking up like abandoned buildings that are supposed to be haunted, and, you know, you want to go. But if you're going to do that, get permission. Don't just like go into these buildings off your own. I did it once. There was Cora's, which was in Leicester, which me and one of my mates, Matt, went into. We just went into it to take pictures, you know, because it was abandoned. You know, I'm interested in all that. I know I went into abandoned buildings, and, you know, just like walking around all the day. It's dangerous because of the asbestos and all that. It was just interesting, you know, just going in there. But yeah, we did get caught at one point. We were walking in there and we had some like guy like shout at us, so we just like ran off like, oh, it was like, get off the property, we're gonna call the police. I was like, right, Matt, let's run for it. Yeah, so no, we did actually go back in afterwards. We shouldn't have done. But we went back. It's because it's dangerous, isn't it? Because there was knocking the building down at the time, so it was dangerous to do it. So I think that's why they had people like watching it, making sure no one went in, because they were knocking it down at the time. There was a bit to the side which they weren't knocking down because apparently it was haunted, so they didn't want to disturb it. So that's the bit which we didn't manage to get into. It was so hard because we had to like go downwards. There was this lift. There was this like lift thing that you had to like crawl under this lift, but it was dangerous. You had to crawl into the lift, and then you could get under like this, like underneath it to get like under the tunnels bit of all. It was a long like tunnel which you could like get underneath of it, and it was really long. So we went all the way around there, and it's interesting, you know, going to, you know, stuff like that. That's why I'd be interested in going to the catacombs in France, because apparently there's supposed to be like millions and millions and millions of dead bodies under there, and then it's supposed to be like France is supposed to be like a horror hotspot for like, you know, paranormal activity stuff apparently, which, you know, I'm interested in it in a sense, but I'm not as interested in it as more after, you know, like I said, with my experience with all that stuff, because I don't fancy, you know, tapping into the other side and then getting possessed and then dying. Or, you know, you're tapping into something and then, you know, which you regret doing, and then, you know, you get killed. It's something. That's why I said I wouldn't do it again. Like I said with the Luigi boat, with that other stuff anyway, I wouldn't do it again. I mean, you know, even if I wasn't absolutely drunk out of my head, you know, I still wouldn't do it after, you know, after all the stuff, you know, that I said that I've witnessed and I've gone through. You know, it's not particularly something which I'd enjoy doing. I just did it as like a social experiment back then. I was 18 at the time. You know, I was just interested in, like, you know, because I'd already watched all these horror films, you know, people using the Ouija boards, you know, stuff I'd already read up and documentaries and all this I'd already watched. And I was just interested to see, you know, if it was actually real. And yeah, it's real. That's why I did like stress enough in the last podcast, going from my paranormal experiences. Don't do it. I mean, if you want to do it, you know. I can't stop you, no one else can stop you. But if you, like I said, if you do end up, if you do end up like tapping into the other side, then you do it at your own risk. That's all I'm saying. Do it at your own risk if you do end up doing so. But like I said, if you're gonna do it, always say goodbye and end it properly, because if you don't do that, then you are gonna it actually does state when you buy a Ouija board on it, literally in big bold, always remember to say goodbye, if you're using one. It's the most important rule of using a Ouija board. Always say goodbye. I was looking at the side of like my wardrobe then, because I thought I saw some. I think I need to stop talking about this subject. There's a couple of other things I'm going to mention. I think I'm going to turn my light on. I might not. I keep looking at like the side, because there's like a gap where my wardrobe is, and like I keep like looking. I think my eyes are deceiving me. It's like the side of the wardrobe, and then I looked. I was talking, but because I'm making sure the levels are all right on Audition, and then I was looking, and like the corner of my eye, I was like, "What is that?" Because the side of the wardrobe is just dark, it's just black, and then you're like, "Oh!" I do need to turn that. Actually, hold on a minute. There we go. I'll turn my light on my phone so then I can actually see. But yeah, oh God, that's even creepy. I look even creepier. Like I said, yeah, with the stuff about this, like I said, I'll put all the stuff I've spoken about, I'll put it in the comment section. I'll also put some description and links in the description and all for stuff which I've spoken about if you want to read into it, and all this. But like I said, it's interesting. It is an interesting subject. That's why I wanted to do a documentary on aliens, and just a little bit, the two experiences which I did have with the UFO, the spinny like UFO thing, which is shot up into the woods back home. Oh my God, this phone. I mean, I am tempted. I am tempted if I can get enough people that are interested in the podcast to do a couple of live podcasts. I'll do them on my YouTube channel. I'll go live and I'll do some live podcasts. That's only if I can get enough people interested and enough people watching them. Then I will do some live podcasts. Just drop me some subjects and whatnot. I'll come up with some ideas and I might do some live podcasts. At the end of the day, I want to try and do as much as possible, but I don't want to do too much. I want to try and get stuff which is quality. I want to do quality over quantity. I mean, this is the 6th episode. I've still got, if you looked at the campaign, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't promote it as good as what I could have done. So that didn't get any money on that campaign for those 5 horror podcasts, which was for. But at the end of the day, I still need to do those 5 horror podcasts because, it's part of my marketing criteria and all that. So, I still need to do those 5 podcasts, which I'm going to record them all next week. And obviously they're just going to go up they're going to have to go up as free because, that campaign's ended now. So that, they'll what I'm going to do for those 5 horror podcasts, I think once they're done, I'm going to try and get them onto Spotify. I think that's the best solution for them now, because they were supposed to be a paid thing for the people which contributed to the campaign, but because that's backfired. I tried promoting it the best I could. I set up the Facebook page. I was going on forums, sharing it. I was asking people which were interested in this subject. I just didn't get any contributors towards it, and then these podcasts started somewhat going up quite well after the campaign ended, which, I couldn't put another campaign up now because, all this work is due in 3 weeks, so it's not like I could put another campaign up now to try. I mean, I could like ask if I could like do another one because, there's quite a lot, because there's about 20-30 people whatnot that listen into these podcasts. So, there's people in there, but one of the podcasts, I had about 100-200 views on it. So, I had quite a chunk of people listening in. That's due to the forums. Obviously, you've come over from the forums to watch and to listen to them. So, at the end of the day, I don't care about how many people, watch or listen in. As long as, the people that are listening and interested, and they're happy to, watch the next episode, afterwards, the next podcast or whatnot, then, that keeps me happy. Even if it's only like 10 people, at the end of the day, that's 10 people that, I can communicate with about these stuff, get their opinions on, how I can improve the podcasts, at the end of the day, I don't care. Even if it's like 1 million people tuned in, at the end of the day, I don't care about, I care about my fans more, people that, I say this about all the videos I put on YouTube and all because, I've got quite a lot of subscribers on there. I say I care about my fans more than I care about how many views each video pulls in, because at the end of the day, if it wasn't for the people that are tuning in, and the fans and the people that are listening to the podcasts, it wouldn't be in the situation now if you didn't have them. So that's why I always ask for that every time I end a podcast. I ask for feedback and some comments on each bit, so then I can improve on each one. So then I can take on board what people are saying, and then improve upon them and put better content if need be into the next podcast, which I feel beneficial not only for for the podcast, but it's beneficial as me for a learning curve. So then in the future, if I decide to carry these podcasts on, then I've got that learning curve and the feedback, so then I know how to make them as best as possible and keep them interesting, and keep people that are listening hooked until the very end of the podcast. So then they're not tuning in for a couple of minutes and oh no, scrap this, and then they just tune out. I want to keep it as interesting as possible, so then you listen for the full length of time that the podcast is running on for. So like I said, so with this podcast as well, just drop some comments in, tell me what you think. I'll try to share this a bit better. I'll put it onto the front. I didn't with the last two because I totally forgot, because I've been doing some other projects. I had a deadline last Friday, so I was working on all that. I had a hell of a lot of work to do, so I was focusing on that. That's another reason why I didn't post up for 2 weeks, because I had so much work at this professional portfolio module to do, and there was this critical work thing which I had no idea what I was doing for it. I was going back and forth, and it was stressing me out. It was making me ill, and like I said, I was already ill anyway because I had a cold for a week and a half, and then I was in bed for 3 days because of how ill I was. So the other times I was going out is if I was going out, I wasn't really going out much because of it. And then like I said, I mentioned that anyway in the that last podcast, where I did apologise for not doing anything for 2 weeks. I did go into it in some more detail though, so you probably already heard me say why the reasons were to that, and then obviously personal issues and all with a couple of, like I said, I've already mentioned it. I'm not going to mention it again because I was working that Joker script. I'll give you a quick update on that. The Joker script, I've started scripting it again. I started scripting it again a couple of days ago, so I've got back into the flow that I think I had a little bit of writer's block after all that uni work. I think it mashed my brain up, so I think I had a little bit of writer's block, but I'm getting back into the flow of it again. So I'm started scripting it again. I scripted another 18 pages in the last couple of days. I've come up with another plot line to make the script really interesting to what it already was. So I've wrote all this down so then I don't forget. So I'm hoping sometime in the next week or two, I'll give you a big update on it, seeing what's happening. I'll tell you all about when I'm sending it off, who I'm sending it to, what I'm hoping to gain from this script because of how long I've spent. I don't want to. I said this on the Joker Script podcast. I don't want to come across as an egotistic twat saying this has to go big. At the end of the day, if it's not good enough, it's not good enough. I personally feel it is good enough. That's because I've spent 2 to 3 years working on it. Like I said, reading comic books, going back and forth with the comic book material, looking up as much as possible to get the best portrayal of the Joker written into that script and portrayed as good as possible and written really well. So like I said, that's why I've spent so long on it. That's why in a way I think I would, if it doesn't get anywhere, I would personally feel a bit gutted because I've spent so long on it. And you'd feel a bit let down. I think anyone would, if they spent so much on something and then it just doesn't get anywhere. Anyone would feel gutted, I've just wasted for me personally, it'd be 2-3 years scripting it wasted down the drain, with all the comic books and all that I've read and the amount of money that I've spent to read these comic books. I'm thinking, well, that's a lot of money down the drain, and that's a lot of time consumed down the drain, and I've gained nothing from it. That's why I'm trying to make this script as good as possible. I mean, I'm good at script writing, but I've been going to these script writing classes because I want to try and like I said, I want to make this script as good as possible, so to try and see if it will get somewhere, because you know, at the end of the day, like I said, script writing and directing is what I want to go into, and I'm not going to get into it if I don't, you know, put the best work possible out there. That's why you read up stuff like if you're making, with anything, with a script, with anything you do, you know, sometimes it can take time. You know, you need to learn about, you know, stuff that you haven't done before. You know, you think, oh, this isn't how I've done things before, I normally do it like this, but that's it. Things change, the new comes in and the old goes out, and you've got to adapt. You've got to adapt to stuff, because stuff just changes all the time. So you've just got to adapt to it. So that's what I've been doing with this script. That's what I've been going back and forth. And then things have been changing. I feel like, you know, like I write an entire scene and I think, well, this isn't relevant. So then I end up scrapping that scene out of it. That scene just ends up getting washed away, and then I end up changing it with something else. And then I'm like, well, no, this doesn't make any sense. There's too many. I don't want to put too many plot holes in it as well. Too many like storylines and plot holes. I want to keep it simple, but I want to keep it really, really interesting. And I'm linking it into quite a lot of the comic book material. I think I already mentioned, if you've looked onto my Instagram, I've already put up posts on that of comic books which I've been reading, and I've been like, oh, this is interesting, you know, I might like take something from this to put into the script. I mean, I have read quite a lot, and then I've posted like little teasers, you know, of like pages of the script to like tease you to see how things are going. Now, obviously, the beginning opening, which it was originally, which I posted up 3 months ago, it's completely changed now. That opening is completely changed. So that's those pages of scripts which I've posted up. Literally hardly of any of that is left in it now from the beginning bit, and you know, the Arkham scene, a lot of it has changed because I've adapted it, and you know, I've put new stuff into it, and then I've just gone on back and forth really, and just gone bounce, and just gone back and forth. So that's a little bit update on there, just in case, you know, you're interested in wondering, well, why has he not spoke about it, why has he not posted anything? It's because I'm getting on with it, you know, because I've got uni work to do. I've been trying to like fit in, you know, my time possible, as you know, my time as possible with going out doing other things, like, you know, if I'm going out for a few beers with my mates, you know, I'm trying to like fit in as much time around it. But at the moment, you know, I'm you know, that's why I've been cracking on with it, because I've got nothing else to do beside these podcasts now, and then you know, I've got like 8, 9, 10 hours a day to do whatever I want, and I've been spending that time doing scripts, or I've been writing up the blogs. So, you know, I've got quite a lot of time to babble with now for the next week or two, so I'm going to use it as productive as possible and get as much stuff done I can, and use my time that I've got now as productive as possible and do as much stuff as I can. Because then come like middle of May, then, you know, from middle of May up until I start my masters in September, I've got all that time then, which I can crack on with all these projects that I talk about. You know, if these podcasts continue to do well, or, you know, if they blow up, you know, I'll continue doing these. If I can find some interesting subjects, I'll continue doing these over the summer. You know, I've got all, but like I said, there is something big which I'm already doing over the summer, which is a feature film, which I'm going to be filming in where I currently am now. I'm just trying to find some cast and crew at the moment. The script is done, but I'm trying to like film that over the summer. I've managed to get a grant from a film festival student awards thing, so I've got a grant for it. So I'm just trying to like find cast and crew at the moment. So hopefully that all goes well in the next month or so, because I want to try and start filming that sometime middle of June, so in the next 2 months. So, you know, anything can happen, but, you know, we'll just have to see how that goes. But like I said, yeah, this has been a long podcast. Like I said, I want to do, like I said, what are your thoughts on me on doing live podcasts? Because these are technically live podcasts, because it's based when it's pre-recorded as live as me just saying it and then me just posting it up without cutting it down, which I'm going to do now. I'm going to start doing podcasts as raw. Saves me time, but at the end of the day, if they're all, say I will do some podcasts which are cut down, say if I want to put like sound effects into it, you know, I want to put, but I've got to be careful, because obviously, you know, there's copyright laws and you know what it is with YouTube, and, you know, if you don't put in, you know, it's just all that hassle. And then I've got to, you know, with the university, if I put anything in, I've got to put it down in the bibliography, like, well, this I use, and if I do too much, then, you know, it's just too much work on my end. I mean, I know I am aiming to get a high first, but, you know, if I do too much stuff, I don't know if it's going to bring bring the grade down or if it's going to keep it up there. Like I said, it's quality over quantity at the end of the day. I want to get as much quality stuff done. I don't want to keep it as professional as possible, like I said. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and I keep going back and forth. It's why I haven't, like I say, I do apologise for the blogs why I haven't been posting up, because I feel, I mean, it wasn't my statement of intent, but I can do a statement of intent revised, just saying, I felt that the blogs wasn't really relevant. I just wanted to stay on doing the podcasts because I felt that was something. But I have done some blogs and I've got some other ones I wanted to post up there, but I'm not going to spam it with a load of blogs with the podcasts, like I said, that I was going to do. So, oh my God, this phone. It'd be interesting if I do a live podcast though, because I won't do it as so you can't see me. You'll actually be able to see me, talking about it. So it'll be like going live. So it will be interesting if I can come up with some good ideas. And if I did do a live one, I could actually show you the stuff that I'm talking about as well. If I do a live podcast, I can actually bring stuff up and actually show you the articles and everything that I'm talking about. I am interested in doing it. I'm just, I'm just interested in what you think about that. Is it like a good thing to do? Should I start doing a couple of live podcasts around these podcasts, or should I just continue doing these podcasts and post them up to YouTube, and then just doing those 5 horror things and then trying to get them onto Spotify, which I said, if they don't want to Spotify, I'll just have to put them onto my YouTube channel. But I am there is a way to put it on Spotify. You've got to pay for it, but there's a way to do it. So I'm just trying to figure out ways to put it onto Spotify, which I did put in my statements. I didn't say it was 100% because, I just said I will try and figure out a way to put those horror ones onto Spotify, because they are going to take up quite a lot of my time, because the amount of time I'm going to have to edit. That's why all next week it's just focusing on those horror. I'm still going to do a couple of these. I have pre-recorded a couple which I'm going to put up. I think altogether there's going to be 10 episodes for this Wonder Dream podcast. So for after this episode there'll be another 4. So there'll be 10 episodes for this, and then there'll be the 5 episode horror ones. But if Wonder Dream does well, I'll do a second season of the Wonder Dream podcasts. If it all depends on how well they're doing. If I get good feedback, I've got people interested in it and they want me to carry it on. If not, then I'll just end it with a 10 episode podcast series. If it doesn't come down to that. But like I said, I'm gonna end it there because my throat's a bit bad, because I've been waffling on for over. We've talked about enough. Like I said, thanks for listening again. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast as well. Like I said, I want to try and keep them as interesting as possible. So once again, thank you for listening. The next episode, which will be episode 7. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do for that. Like I said, I wanted to do something on like the Hollywood remakes. I also want the Hollywood remakes. I did say I was going to do one of those. I'm not too sure if I'm going to do that now, because it just seems like a boring subject. It might not be boring to some of you, but to me, I want to keep them into stuff which I'm interested in, and not stuff that I'm not interested in, because at the end of the day, I need to be interested and focused, entertaining myself whilst I'm making them. So I also got asked about potentially doing a podcast on the whole Michael Jackson controversy about, leaving Neverland. I've got a lot of opinions that I can say about that, which would raise quite a lot of eyebrows. But if I do that, I'm going to get a lot of bad comments like, no, he's a pedo. He went hee into the wind. What do you think those songs were about? They were about... I might do one. That might actually be the next step. That might be the next episode. I'll just see, because it's a touchy subject, and I could get so much hate in that for because of the stuff which I personally, because I feel that he didn't do that. He wasn't. He didn't do it. Like I said, if I do end up doing it, I won't go into detail about it, but I just want to be a bit reluctant, because like I said, it's a touchy subject. After that documentary, people have, yeah, right. If I do it, I'll do it. I think it's good or whatnot, but like I said, yeah, I've banged on enough about this, so I'll end it there. Like I said, the next episode, I'm not sure what it'll be on, but it'll be up a couple of days after this one. yeah, it'll be up a couple of days after this one, and then I'll think over the next couple of days if I'll do that podcast. Like I said, because it's a touchy subject, I'm not 100% sure, but I do have quite a lot of opinions on that, a lot of articles to like share across which people don't even know about, which proves he was innocent. So once again, thank you for listening to the podcast. It has been a lengthy one. Like I said, I'm going to do them raw now. Also, give me in the comment section or message me, any of your like UFO sightings or anything wacky that you've seen or whatnot. Just message me telling me what that was, and I'll get back to you. I'll message you back. Obviously, put in the comment section what you want to see in these last couple of episodes of the podcast, what you want me to, because it's not that I'm running out of ideas. I'm just trying to like I said, I'm trying to get the best quality stuff out as possible, not just just put stuff out there for the sake of it. I want to keep it interesting and try and get as much article stuff into there, link it in and keep it interesting, so then you can keep like listening in, and you just keep it running. But like I said, I'm going to end it there now because I've been talking for quite a lot and it's hurting my throat. So like I said, share it across. Like I said, I'll put it on the forums, I'll share it across. It'll go onto the YouTube, it'll go onto the Facebook page, and I will also link it onto the blog. If you don't already follow the blog, I will link it into the description as well, so you can follow it. If you don't also follow my YouTube channel, don't forget to follow that and also keep up to date. So when I post these up, like I said, I'm going to keep a tab on these and post them up every couple of days now. So once again, thank you for listening. I hope it was interesting. It was interesting for me to talk about all that stuff. You can keep up to date about that. But like I said, once again, thank you for listening in. It's been a living podcast. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you whenever I next post the next podcast up.